Okay, here's a long one. Let me see if I can find. Okay, I'm curious if you could speak to some of the main differences between women in the U.S. and women you've come across internationally. Specifically, do you have any advice on pursuing relationships with foreign women while traveling, living abroad, and whether it's easier or better in any way? Okay. Again, I'm no great expert on this. Most of the time I've lived overseas has been in Spain, so I have some insight into Spanish women, probably. Although, the sample size isn't large enough to start making vast generalizations. Women are different everywhere, every kind of woman, every individual woman, even day to day the same woman. There's a lot of variability, and so it's very dangerous to start making blanket proclamations. But never stopped me before. I think the main difference is that America is a very fearful society. Home of the brave, it is not. America is a place of very high stress because it's hyper competitive, and if you're not winning, you're losing. And if you're losing, you're fucked. There's no safety net. I've talked about this quite a bit on the podcast. In Spain, in pretty much all European countries, universal health care. You get sick, you're covered. Vacation, 4 weeks a year, standard. Plus holidays and blah, 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 it's 5 or 6 weeks a year. Get a lot of time off, paid, I'm saying, right? Pension, yeah, you got that. Pension's not like if your company is putting aside a 401k. No, you're Spanish, you got a pension. America is like a make it or die trying country. And most other countries are maybe you make it, good for you, but if you don't make it or you don't make it as high as you were aiming, you'll still be okay. Life's still good. So there's a general sense of relaxation in those countries that Americans find hard to imagine until you've experienced it. And so you've got that. And that ties into the fear. A bomb goes off in London and people in Kansas City are freaking out thinking they're coming for us next. Americans are just running around like fucking frightened rabbits all the time. It's. I know you think you're tough. I know we got the big military and we got the stealth bombers and we got all that shit, but Americans themselves are fucking scared. Part of that's just because the news is full of, they hate us for our freedoms, and part of it's legit, Part of there's much more violence, there are guns. I mean, if you're a young black man in America, you got fucking right to be scared, man, Cop will shoot you for no fucking reason at all and go home for dinner. That's indisputable. And everybody's got reason to be scared in America. If you run out of money and you get sick, hey, fuck you, Sell your house to pay for this operation. That's America. So there are a lot of reasons to be scared. I don't mean to be laughing at anybody. But beyond the legitimate reasons, there's a culture of fear that amplifies that fear. Because it sells newspapers, it sells TV shows, it's all these reality shows, all this shit's all, catch a rapist, catch a pedophile, whatever. You're going to get kicked off the island, all this stuff. So there's a lot of fear. Women are vulnerable. They internalize that fear, so there's sort of a generalized fear of men. You go to these other countries, they really don't have that fear of men. There's also sex negativity in America. Sex is dirty, sex is ugly. Yeah, I know we have cheerleaders and, whatever, beer commercials with lots of sexy girls in them, but even those things are sex negative because if you don't look like these cheerleaders or you don't look like the woman in the beer commercial, then there's something wrong with you. You got to go get Botox, get a boob job, get liposuction. You got to do all the shit, right? That's sex negative. That's not cool. That's not sexy. Sexy is when women feel empowered and desirable as they are. And of course you want to be healthy. Of course, you know, you don't want to like fall apart. But it's an acknowledgement that women are sexy as women, not as little girls. You know, for example, one of the differences is, in my experience, Spanish women don't walk around with no hair on their vulva. That's a very American thing. Why? Why is this infantilization? I don't get it. Why are shaved pussies so in? I think it's because of porn, right? Why is it in porn? Oh, because you get to see, you know, more. It's for the camera. But we're not all porn stars. We're not all living in a porn movie. There's no camera. So what's it matter to us? But there we go. So I think there's, in general, my sense with women in other cultures is that they're more comfortable in their femininity. They feel less threatened by men in general, and they feel less under fire from the culture, telling them that they're not good enough, they need to do this, they need to do that, need to buy more shit and all that. And there's also a different attitude toward aging. You know, if you walk down the street in Paris, you're going to see just gorgeous women in their 70s who will smile at you with an acknowledgement of their own sexuality. That's something I don't see in America. That would be considered grotesque in America. Which is really unfortunate, because a woman's beauty does not evaporate when she turns 25. In fact, it's just getting started if you are looking at beyond the surface. And there's an acknowledgement of that in Spain, in Italy, in France, certainly. And I would say also in Holland, and I haven't traveled much in the Scandinavian countries, so I can't say, but I imagine it's probably true there too. So anyway, I think these are important factors in the differences. And then, you know, you go to some place like India or, you know, Brazil, these are all very different cultural contexts. So I can't talk about every one that I've experienced, or, you know, I've never, when I was in India, I never slept with any Indian women. You can't even, like, make eye contact with Indian women. I have slept with Indian women, but not in India. So who knows how relevant that would be. But I think those are the main points, that there's, you're sort of, it's so much easier to talk with women because they don't start off assuming you're a creep or, you know, potential rapist or, you know, whatever. So you can sort of start from a place of acknowledging attraction without that being a problem. So I remember when I first arrived at Barcelona, way back when, I was in my late 20s, and I remember walking down the street and just feeling how, man, everybody's flirting. Everybody's flirting with each other, and it's not about getting laid. It's just about acknowledging this sort of baseline happiness to be alive. It's really common in Spain for, like, you know, if I went to a shop or something, and there's a woman who's, you know, speaking with me, it's really common she'd call me guapo. Guapo means good looking in Spanish. Now, is she like, bueno, ¿qué tamaño guapo? Or bueno, buenos días guapo. Just me, how you doing? Good looking. How you doing? Handsome, right? In America, it comes across as kind of creepy and weird. In Spain, it's just normal talk. Now, I know that doesn't mean she wants to sleep with me. This woman could be 80 years old, or whatever. Her husband could be standing there. It has nothing to do with sex. It's just like it's like tapas. You ordered a beer, here's a little sandwich to go with it. It's free. It's part of the deal. It's part of being alive. Uh, and so being complimentary to someone in these cultures doesn't mean you want anything from them. And that's the beauty of it. There's a generosity there. In America, that would be considered creepy. It would be considered exploitative. Hey, you're beautiful. Ugh, why are you talking to me? Why are you objectifying me? Blah, blah. Well, in these contexts where women don't feel under attack, then these kinds of exchanges can happen in a way that nobody feels that there's anything being asked of them, and that it's just a gift. Just a little gift. It's not a lot. It's nothing. And I don't want anything in return. I'm just saying, hey, you're beautiful. That's all. Good for you. And it may have nothing to do with your physical appearance, right? I call old ladies guapa all the time. They love it. It's a shame we don't do that in this culture. It's a shame we're afraid of being kind to each other. And it's a shame that we consider anything that is related, even in the most indirect ways with sexuality, to be dangerous or threatening in some way. Because to me, that sort of energy is like solar energy. It's clean, no residue, doesn't hurt anybody. It's just free energy from the core of our being that we can pass around and give to each other and just make life more interesting. That's a long answer, but I think that sort of gets to most of how I feel about women in foreign countries. And I'm not saying that there aren't American women who get all this. There certainly are. And they're just as lovely as any women anywhere. I'm just talking about a general context, because those women, those American women who get this, they've had to work to get it because their culture doesn't give it to them. In countries with a healthier sexual culture, this sort of understanding of yourself is just standard. It's not something you have to work for individually. And you can really see it. I mean, Casilda and I would talk about this a lot, how, you'd see a woman in Spain or a girl or whatever, and she'd be beautiful, just a beautiful girl. And then you'd sort of like step back and imagine this same girl if she had grown up in Ohio or Michigan or Idaho or wherever. She wouldn't be so beautiful because the culture would have told her she wasn't beautiful. Her whole life, the culture would be saying, you're not tall enough, your nose is too big, your hair is weird, your ass is too big, whatever it is. And the thing that made her beautiful, this sort of light that came out of her, this happiness to be who she was, which illuminates you like firelight, that makes everybody look 10 times prettier, that light would have died out or never really been ignited in the first place. Whereas in a culture where women grow up, girls grow up just being told how pretty they are all the time, just because they're pretty, just because they're beautiful, just because they're nice people, that light gets built up. So you'd see a woman and you'd say, in Spain she's beautiful, in America the same woman would not be. That sucks. That really sucks. And so you walk around in Spain and you say, wow, like the average woman here is hot. There's just a level of beauty here that's just amazing. But it's not genetic. It's not that their hair is better or their teeth is better or their nose is better. It's that they like themselves. They're comfortable. And that makes them really attractive. So I hope that doesn't sound weird or misogynistic or anything, because honestly, it's the opposite. I feel incredible sadness and compassion for women and men in American society, trying to get their heads around how to be happy with themselves. Because it's like having parents who just tell you you're not good enough all the time. It's really hard to get past that if your culture is constantly telling you you're not good enough. It's fucking hard to get past that. It's so much better where there are, Spanish culture is like a parent who loves you, who loves its kids. American culture is like a parent who is always saying, work harder, do better, get stronger, lose weight, get a boob job. That's American culture. Fucked up parents, man. Really. Anyway, I'm going to end there because my throat's getting dry.